Hi guys, how are you all today morning? Good morning. Today is 15th February 2024. My name is TSV Raghavan and I live in Chennai, Tamil Nadu, India. This is my spiritual vlog on YouTube. Hardan, 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 Haribol, TSV, Nectar, NECTAR, Nectar. In this particular vlog, in all my previous videos, we have been trying to discuss, analyze, and study the knowledge and information that we have gleaned through the study of spiritual books, scriptures, contemplation on the material universe, and meditation on the spiritual universe. This particular video in this vlog is no exception to that rule. In fact, it is a mere continuation of all that we have been trying to do in all my previous videos. Kindly subscribe to this vlog and press the bell icon so that I may keep reminding you of all my previous, present, and future videos. So let us continue with the topic of discussion for today's video. In the past few videos, we have been trying to study in detail about how life happened to people like us, how we were originally a spirit spark in the spirit hole, how we gravitated towards the material world, tried to get in touch with it, and in that process changed our identity from a mere spirit spark to a spirit soul, and then we were wrapped by four layers of material body, which gave us a new identity as a living entity. This living entity got totally into the swamp of this material world to such an extent that sooner or later it got into a rut of endless chain of birth and death in different species, including the human one, and ultimately, when we got into being born as human living entities, our own destiny and karma began. In this process, we also came to know about the mass of tissues called the brain, the subtle mind, the three subtle bodies, namely causal intelligence and logic, astral mind of feelings and emotions, and etheric body of senses, plus other factors, namely different types of memories and different types of egos. Now we will proceed further. We will start from the time when a living entity ultimately is born in the human species in this material world. The moment a living entity takes a human birth, whether male or female, his or her chain of destiny and karma begins. Karma is nothing but the efforts put in by the same human living entity, whether a male or female, during one lifetime in this material world. Karma has two parts. The majority of karma or efforts, actions, and reactions of one living entity are worked out in the same lifetime of that particular human living entity, whether male or female. However, a residue of around 20 to 25% of the same efforts, actions, and reactions and karma remain unworked when this particular human living entity ends his or her life in that lifetime. This unworked karma does not go waste. Instead, it is put as storage in a repository in the superconscious and subconscious memory of the same human living entity, and this repository or storage is known as Sanchit Karma. Such Sanchit Karma goes ballooning up after every lifetime, thanks to that particular living entity's unworked karma in different lifetimes. Suppose one human living entity takes 10 births initially as a human living entity. Now, his actions, reactions, destiny, and karma began their cycle right from his or her first birth. Right from his or her first birth, this guy accumulated some unworked karma in his first, second, third, up to the 10th birth. This unworked karma got stored in what is known as Sanchit karma. But this is not all. Even one, the unworked karma was getting stored as Sanchit karma in the superconscious memory of the same human living entity. When this guy took another birth, say from first to second or second to third and so forth up to the 10th birth, it is quite possible that this guy took a slice of his or her unworked Sanchit karma to base his or her next birth or lifetime in this material world. In other words, some slice of unworked Sanchit karma was taken by the same living entity to be worked out in his or her second, third, fourth, or so on new birth. This particular slice of karma selected from the unworked storage of Sanchit karma is known as prarabdha karma. This prarabdha karma lays the foundation for the same living entity's next birth or this birth in which he or she has come into this material world to work out that slice of unworked karma. In other words, the life of this human living entity, whether male or female, is initially based on this prarabdha karma itself or alone. So powerful is this prarabdha karma of a slice of sanchit karma in the case of that living entity that it comes to force as soon as the same living entity decides to take this slice as his or her foundation for the next birth. Hence, this particular human living entity's next birth comes to force 9 months before he or she is born in that particular lifetime. This is because that slice of unworked karma chosen by him or her to be worked out in that lifetime depends on the parentage, atmosphere, surroundings, community, caste, race, creed, and other factors that would in future facilitate these living entities working out that slice of unworked karma called prarabdha karma. Initially, the same human living entities complete a life revolves around that slice of unworked karma alone. His or her birth in a family, his or her parentage, atmosphere, surroundings, caste, creed, race, color, country, etc. depend on that prarabdha karma alone. Similarly, once this guy gets acclimatized to that particular lifetime for himself or herself, he or she is likely to do other actions and reactions based on his or her free will. Free will is the freedom bestowed upon every living entity, especially human, by destiny, so that he or she may do some additional karma based on that free will. Now we already have the unworked prarabdha karma, and now we also have actions and reactions through that free will that adds to the already existing prarabdha karma. These actions and reactions out of free will of that living entity are known as kriyamana karma. Love it or leave it directly or indirectly. Even this kriyamana karma born out of free will of that living entity depends on his or her prarabdha karma resulting in his or her positive, negative, or indirect new free will kriyamana karma in that particular lifetime. I will give an example. Suppose one particular person's prarabdha karma wanted him or her to continue his or her actions and reactions in being a doctor. Now, this guy will find it easier to adjust himself or herself into the groove of getting qualified as a doctor. This is because of his or her already existing prarabdha karma. However, thanks to his or her free will. This guy who was only thinking of becoming an ordinary medical practitioner could go independent and start his own or her own clinic, hospital, and invest the earnings in various other connected or disconnected businesses so that he or she becomes a multifarious personality. He or she may have his own clinic, hospital, lab, dispensary, medical store, medicine factory, etc. This is not exactly his or her prarabdha karma. His or her prarabdha karma only qualified him or her to become a doctor. But thanks to his or her free will, this guy invested his already existing unworked prarabdha karma as a doctor to become a medical practitioner, a clinic owner, a hospital owner, and so forth. This gives an addition to his or her already existing sanchit karma in the sense that the unworked karma from that kriyamana karma is again taken into a folder called agami or future karma, which is again stapled to the already existing sanchit karma. Now, when this living entity ends his or her life in this birth, he or she has a far a better sanchit karma than the one he was born or she was born with. Now, in his or her next birth, when he or she decides to take a slice out of the unworked Sanchit karma for his or her next birth. It may include the unworked Kriyamana karma or Agami karma of the previous birth along with the already existing unworked Sanchit karma. This may turn the same human living entity into a huge hospital or hospitality tycoon or magnate, a big owner of medicine factories, dispensaries, research labs, and so forth. Gently, his or her destiny takes a new route in the next birth. This is applicable to every human living entity. His or her unworked karma stored in the Sanchit karma is used to take a slice to be used as a foundation for his or her next birth. He or she then proceeds to base his or her free will kriyamana karma on the same prarabdha karma and comes out with a new unworked karma in that particular lifetime. This gradually changes his or her destiny or karma. We were discussing the case history of one Joachim Chapo Guzman. To understand this psyche far better than we already are doing. Here we have to understand that this Joachim Chapo Guzman, probably as an individual human living entity, not only gravitated towards the dark negative forces in existence in this material world, but love it or leave it, probably felt very comfortable in that group. Probably this particular living entity, when he started to gravitate towards the dark negative forces, initially started at the fringe or twilight zone between the 75% vegetative kind and the 20% negative kind. However, he who was born as a male Joachim Chapo Guzman had to go through several lifetimes where he already had his or her purpose in life in the negative variety to reach his or her negative goal through that negative bracket. From twilight zone, probably in one of his or her past births, he finally or she finally got qualified to become a genuine member of some underworld. Thus, the unworked free will karma based on his or her already existing prarabdha and sanchit karma guided him or her through a very torturous journey in the negative line to such an extent that in this particular birth he was born in the Mexican underworld in a place called Sinaloa as Joaquim Chapo Guzman. Because of his already existing prarabdha karma, he was forced to choose a particular parentage, atmosphere, surrounding, and a date of birth which would facilitate him to work out his already existing unworked prarabdha karma. That was precisely the reason that this Joachim Chapo Guzman found himself in the position that he was in. This is all I wanted to talk about in this particular video. Kindly let me know what you think of my talk on this particular subject. Please give me your own expert views, thoughts, opinions, and ideas so that I may blend everything together for the sake of this society. Before concluding, let me remind you that I am also a published author with Amazon Kindle and paperback. I write on spiritualism, fiction, and assorted subjects. Spiritualism happens to be my favorite subject. Till we meet in my next video, it is good morning from TSV Raghavan.